Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. The Saints are 0-2. I don't think anyone would have thought that would be the case. I think at worst people thought they'd be 1-1, and most thought they'd be 2-0 because they were favored in both games. And they lost both on the final play of the game in similar fashion, allowing a team to drive the field when it mattered most. In the Falcons game, it came in regulation to tie the game. Of course, against Cleveland, it came starting at their own 4-yard line against a mediocre offense. And, Lenny, that I wouldn't call it a red flag, but the yellow flag is certainly up in NASCAR terminology.
I would say so at this point. You're 0-2, and you know we've seen the numbers, and it's been talked about ad nauseum. Teams in the 12-team playoff era, which is 25 years now, teams that start 0-2 have a 12% chance of making the playoffs. Now the question is, will the Saints fall into that 12%? Certainly, they are the best of the 0-2 teams at this point. Now, if Indianapolis loses to Philadelphia on Monday night, you might want to put the Colts ahead of the Saints. I don't know about that. But as we stand right now on Monday morning, the Saints are clearly the best of those 0-2 teams. If somebody is going to do it out of this group in 2014, you'd certainly put your odds on New Orleans being the one to do it. But look, there are clearly some problems that need to be fixed from any number of directions, from execution to coaching to scheme to just, you know, all things considered, taking care of the football better, picking up blitzes, just making plays when it matters. You could point the finger in a lot of different directions, but at the end of the day, you know, who was it? What coach? Bill Parcells, I guess, said you are what your record says you are, and right now the Saints are 0-2.
And it's a collective effort. I think you're 100% right. The blame goes everywhere. The offense sleepwalked for a quarter and a half. The defense didn't play when it needed to. Kickoff returns weren't very good. Punting was good. It always is. And place kicking was fine. But really, that's about it. And Drew Brees came back to play well after struggling early. But again, you lose the turnover battle, in particular on the road, you lose the game.
Saints are about a 250 win percentage team when they lose the turnover battle in the Sean Payton era. That's the one thing you want to point to. I think, if I remember, maybe one loss, but maybe undefeated when you make no turnovers. And that's not going to happen all the time. Now, the interception, can't totally blame Brees for that one. He got hit right as he threw the ball, sailed on him. It turned into a pick six. The other way, you ended up with a turnover on the last play of the game, just trying to lateral the ball on a kickoff return situation, trying to make a play happen. But didn't force any turnovers. You know, obviously, if you don't force any turnovers, the best you can be in the turnover battle is 0. That's pretty simple math. I think I figured that one out in about third grade or so, like my son. So you've got to be able to make some plays happen. I know that was a point of emphasis in camp, in the preseason. The Saints led the league in turnover margin in the preseason, but that's preseason. We've forgotten about that now, as you brought up. You know, those days of winning the first 3 preseason games and going 3-1, just losing the one with all the reserves playing in week 4. That's long since forgotten.
Well, it is, and obviously they didn't force turnovers last year, and that was a point of emphasis going into this year, and they're not doing it thus far, and they're not getting to the quarterback. 2 sacks total in 2 games, and very few pressures, resulting in blitzing, exposing yourself, in particular when you have corners that are struggling to cover.
Really, that's big, and I mean, a lot of people have, you know, tried to make Patrick Robinson the bad guy, if you will, of this defense at this point. I think it's more than that. I mean, obviously, you've got some very good pass rushers up front, most notably on the ends, in Cam Jordan and Junior Gillette, guys who had double-figure sacks last year, who have pretty much been handled thus far this year. Gillette got there yesterday for one, but you know they have not really been a factor. And I understand this. Played 2 road games, and off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 10 of Gillette's 12 sacks last year came at home. You're getting ready to come home for the first time on Sunday to play the Minnesota Vikings, another team that's dealing with its issues right now, more off the field than on. But maybe you'll look at it and say, okay, all can be well by this time next Monday if you can get a win. That could change everything.
I wouldn't say it would be well, but it would at least be back on course. So 1-2 isn't going to get it done. The Saints are going to have to rip off 3 or 4 in a row to put themselves in position to be where they really want to be. Not just in the contention for winning a division, but also to make the playoffs and go further than that. We'll see. Good win for Tulane. They jumped all over Southeastern early and then held them off and got a home win. And I know it's one of those where you have everything to lose and nothing to win, but they took care of business, and I thought that was impressive against a solid opponent.
Yeah, Southeastern's a good team, and they may not lose the rest of the way. They may run the table in the Southland Conference, although I think we learned a couple of weeks ago McNeese is pretty good. Obviously, Sam Houston's a very good team. So they will, they will have some challenges within the course of the league and how that plays out. But a good win, and I think the most important thing Tulane did, obviously they started well again, but they finished the half. They went down the field at the end of the half, got a touchdown with 4 seconds left in the half, which they had not done in the first 2 games, and I really think that swung momentum. Did they give a little bit back in the second half? Certainly, but that's a good football team that they played in Southeastern. Who's, when you're playing a good football team, they're going to, land their punches, if you will, at some point. But when it came down to it, they were able to get the stops they needed. It was a flag-filled game, a lot of flags on both sides. Southeastern had 11 penalties themselves in the first half, and those types of things have to be cleaned up. But that's the type of situation you like. You don't play a perfect football game, and you win impressively. I'm sure Curtis Johnson and the staff showing that team the film says, hey, there's a lot of things we can clean up, and they need to the next 2 weeks with Duke and Rutgers on the road.
Yeah, Tanner Lee had the interception but played pretty well, and then Sherman Beatty makes a huge difference being back out on the field. LSU, well, their defense hadn't given up a point in quite some time. They shut out Louisiana-Monroe. At times, pedestrian offensively, maybe not trying to show much. They still need to be better than that offensively, especially with Mississippi State coming up. But again, you had to be encouraged with the defense, really good in the back, getting better in the front. And, of course, offensively, listen, the freshmen are showing up, really on both sides of the ball, but certainly Leonard Fournette and Darrell Williams.
Certainly. And, I mean, you don't know where it's coming from with LSU at this point. They're lining guys up at fullback who are traditionally tailbacks, especially when they get near the goal line. They did it with Williams. They did it with Kenny Hilliard. It's not like you're sitting there in a one-back set or a traditional tailback set. There's really some options. Plus, you're keeping those fresh legs in there because they've got so many good running backs from the freshmen to the older guys that you're able to, keep feeding all of those guys, keep them all happy. And, this is a very good offensive line. And, Traven Durrell has stepped up to lead the receiving corps. Nothing wrong with Anthony Jennings has done thus far. Did have a pick late in the first half, his first of the year, but all in all, a solid effort. And like you mentioned, the defense. Since the touchdown to make it 24-7 when they fell behind in the Wisconsin game, 31 consecutive series without allowing a point. They only allowed 93 total yards to a ULM team that had beaten Wake Forest, that had beaten Idaho. They came in at 2-0. This was not a bad football team, and they'll be better for having played LSU on Saturday.
Of course, high school football, our first NBC Bank Prep Showcase continues. We had East Jefferson losing at St. Charles Catholic. The Comets really impressive this past weekend, and it resumes this coming weekend.
Yep, we're headed to the North Shore for the next couple of weeks. De La Salle and Archbishop Hannon coming up Friday night at Hannon. We'll be back in the Covington area again the following week to see Slidell and St. Paul's. But a De La Salle team coming off a loss to St. Michael's, but they're continuing to improve as a program. Hannon was in the Dome a year ago, so it's should be an entertaining football game this Friday night. A lot of great football in Week 3 on the high school schedule.
Yeah, you can check out our new SportsNoah.com top 10s for the weeks, posted at SportsNoah.com. Of course, we have Sports Noah TV, 6 p.m. Monday night that you want to check out. More radio to come with the original on Friday night, 6 hours of prep football, and through SportsNoah.com with our scoreboard. And, of course, we have radio football Saturday night with Rummel Acadiana and a battle of defending state champions. So a busy week to come. We look forward to it. Thanks for the visit.
Hey, we'll see you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review brought to you by First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNoah.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Thanks for joining us, and have a great week. God bless.